At the end of Surah As-Saaffat, ayah 180, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says,
سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين.
Allahu Akbar Kabira. Very famous ayat that many of us, I'm sure, have heard on a number of occasions, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala declares His majesty and His perfection. In the ayat prior to this, in the context for its revelation, and we've mentioned context is just so we understand one portion, not that we restrict it or relegate it to that specific sabab or place of nuzul. But prior to this, the ayat are discussing some of the claims that the mushrikeen were making against Allah. That Allah had a spouse, that Allah has children, that Allah took from the angels female children. And they were pointing to all of these things, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Subhana Rabbika. Allah is perfect. You and I may be influenced by our spouse. You or I may be influenced by our children. Our actions may be changed in accordance with wanting to help or to please or to someone that is close, a relative of ours. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is perfect and free from any such obligations. He is Subhana Rabbika. All perfect praise is to your Lord. A Rabb is one who guides a thing from stages to stages to stages to eventual perfection. This is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Rabbil Izzah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the master, is the source of all exaltation, is the source of all amazement, is the source of all majesty, is the source of all honor. Honor comes from Allah, not the other way around. And so here Allah is giving us a framework with which to understand the might and majesty of Allah. Allah transcends His creation. Izzah, power, greatness, majesty, might, this is the creation of Allah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala transcends that, is not limited by it. So Subhana Rabbik, Rabbil Izzah, Amma Yasifun. These silly comments that the mushrikeen make, these poor attempts to try and poke holes in the greatness of Allah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is beyond and exalted all of that. وَسَلَامٌ عَلَى الْمُرْسَلِينَ. And let us remember and send peace and blessings upon the anbiya, the prophets, the messengers that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent prior to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, and including Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, who said, when you send salat upon me, send salam upon the mursaleen. For he says, وَأَنَا مِنَ الْمُرْسَلِينَ, for I am from the messengers sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzah amma yasifun wa salamun ala al-mursaleen walhamdu lillahi rabbil alameen. And all perfect praise, any word that you can imagine or think of being an epithet of praise, it belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Anything beyond what you can think of, because the knowledge of Allah is perfect, your and my is limited, Allah transcends all of those forms and says, Alhamdu lillahi Rabb al-Alameen. Rabb being the one that takes a thing from stages to perfection. Rabb al-Alameen. Allah is the master of the jinn and the ins, the thaqalain, those that are mukallif, those that are responsible in this universe. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is guiding us to a stage of perfection. That perfection will eventually culminate with Salamun qawlan min Rabbir Rahim. The highest reward in paradise is what you and I are looking forward to. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us that. And Allah's Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam says that in a gathering, make this dua, these three ayat, and Allah will remove any mistakes that you may have made in that gathering. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun wa salamun ala al-mursaleen walhamdulillahi rabbil alameen.